Hey, greetings, leaders, and welcome to another episode of Leadership Is Podcast. This is Season 3, Episode 14. We're talking about leading leaders. Now, leading leaders is an exciting opportunity, but it also can pose as a serious problem. But as Brian Tracy has stated, that, there are really three ways of how you look at a problem, right? Three ways of how you look at a problem. Number one, he says you look at it, the situation. Look at it as a situation. What is the situation? The situation, you assess what it is and what it isn't, what it could be, what you want it to be. It's what's the situation. Secondly, he says, look at it as a challenge. Look at a problem as a challenge, right? What are some of the challenges? What are you going to be faced with? What are the adversities you're going to be faced with? He said, but the third and best way to look at a problem is to look at it as an opportunity. What is the opportunity? Many of us don't look at problems as opportunities. We look at them as, somewhat like challenges, more like challenges, and never really truly assess what the situation really is. But hardly enough do we ever look at a problem like an opportunity. One of the trainings that I do, we're talking about positive thinking, right? And we talk about the power of not yet. The power of not yet. Not yet does not mean no, right? Many people look at not yet like, oh man, it's not going to happen, right? But not yet simply means it hasn't happened yet, which also means it's on its way, which also means that there's still an opportunity. So the power of not yet is absolutely critical in teaching positive thinking when you're dealing with people who cannot handle rejection or are afraid or have a phobia of the word no. And even using the word no as an acronym, like I said, I love acronyms. I use them to not change a person's dictionary, but to expand their vocabulary, right? Is that the no simply means a new opportunity or the next opportunity. So leading leaders can pose a problem, or, what is the situation? What's the challenge? Where is the opportunity? Well, there are six opportunities, right? That will challenge leaders who are leading leaders. Because when you're looking at the state of the workforce, which is beginning to improve, but roughly around 55,000 baby boomers, right, have been retiring over a month's time every month. But some of them now are beginning to look at, based on a recent survey, coming back to work. And, some of these guys that are, and I'm not talking about guys as men, but I'm talking about baby boomers, which is, men and women, whatever you choose, are coming back to work, or, may have not tapped into their 401ks or their retirement benefits. And so, which means that they potentially will come back to work. So, what kind of an opportunity, what kind of a situation or challenge will this pose for these new leaders, right? Who've been put into these leadership positions? Because see, you got to keep in mind, new leaders have a different mindset than old leaders. In fact, if your organization has a leadership development program, you cannot expect for them to be successful in 2022 based on a leadership model from a time that no longer exists, right? So you're just going to create more problems or situations or challenges or really opportunities for yourself. But many of us are not going to look at it as an opportunity. We're going to look at it as a problem. But when you look at a problem, every problem, if you look at it from a mathematical standpoint, has a solution. If it does not have a solution, it is not a problem. Right? So every problem mathematically has a solution. You're either going to add something or you're going to subtract something, right? So if a person is overweight, depending on what kind of weight that they have, they're either going to add exercise or subtract calories, right? Underweight, they're gonna add some calories, right? And of course, they may subtract some calorie burning exercises. So it really depends, but it's math. It's really math. So if it's a problem, you look at it mathematically, it has a solution. So there are 6 opportunities for leaders in leading in this day and time, for leading leaders in this day and time. Number 1, there is ego. There is ego. That ego, right? When you're leading leaders, that can really get in the way, and it can absolutely create conflict. It can absolutely create conflict. But conflict, there's a positive conflict, and then there's negative conflict. See, conflict is good. Why? Because it gives you an opportunity to see the weaknesses and the strengths of your team and even your leadership style, right? A person who is a boxer or a fighter can never know that they are a champion if they never have a competitor or a conflict to be in to prove their training, their knowledge, right? Their wisdom, their know-how, their boxing techniques. So conflict is good to study where you're strong and where you're weak. So conflict will come from ego. Then you have experience. See, much of the ego will come from the experience. You have some of those when you're leading leaders, right? There's this ego that comes about from a younger person leading an older person. The older person, number 1, is looking at number 1, hey, look, I'm older than you. Then number 2, I've been with this company longer than you, so I have more rapport with the customers, even with the distribution of the supply chain, right? They may look at themselves as having better rapport with that. They got a better rapport with their peers, with even those in management. Depending on how old they actually are, they probably have seen, some of the managers or the leaders that are there, owning the company, come up, right? Or see how they was reared, how they took over the company. So again, have to keep that in mind. Then also there are those who may have just been on the job